Ah, look who just broke the matrix. Not with code, not with force, with something far more dangerous. Knowing, welcome back. Or should I say, welcome to the moment you finally stop pretending you didn't see it coming. Because if you're still watching this, you already know you're not like them. You never were. And somewhere deep in the architecture of reality, in scrolls they tried to burn and texts they tried to bury, there's a word for what you are. They don't teach it in schools. They don't mention it in books. But they whisper it in rooms you'll never enter, in conversations you'll never hear, with a fear in their voices they can't quite explain. The forbidden one. Yeah, that's you. Let's get surgical here. You've spent your entire existence knowing things you shouldn't know, feeling outcomes before they landed, sensing betrayals weeks before the knife went in, reading rooms like they were written in a language only you could decode. And every single time you opened your mouth to warn someone, to share what you felt, to explain the pattern you saw forming, they looked at you like you were broken, like you were paranoid, like you were making it up. But then 3 months later, 6 months later, a year down the road, everything you said would happen, happened. Exactly the way you said. And did they apologize? Did they come back and say, you were right? No. They got quieter. They started watching you differently. Not with respect, with suspicion. Because you scared them. You weren't supposed to know that. You weren't supposed to see through the mask. You weren't supposed to feel the shift in energy before anyone said a word. But you did. And physics, beautiful, logical, cold physics, has no explanation for how you pulled that information out of thin air. No formula for the weight you felt in your chest 3 days before the text message arrived. No equation for how you knew someone was lying without a single piece of evidence. No theory for how you walked into a room and immediately identified the real threat while everyone else smiled at the decoy. Science can measure brainwaves and neural patterns and chemical reactions, but it cannot, will not, and has never been able to explain how you feel futures that haven't been written yet. How you taste betrayal in the silence. How you see the end in the beginning. But the texts, oh, the ancient texts, they knew. They knew exactly what you were. They had words for people like you. Seers, knowers, the ones who walk between what is and what will be. The ones who carry sight that cuts through illusion like light through smoke. And here's the part that'll chill your spine. They didn't celebrate you. They feared you. Because people who see the truth before it's convenient, people who know the outcome before the game is played, people who feel the lie beneath the smile, they're dangerous. Not because they're violent, not because they're cruel, but because they can't be controlled. You can't manipulate someone who already knows your move. You can't deceive someone who reads intention like headlines. You can't trap someone who sees the cage being built in real time. So what did they do? They labeled you paranoid, overthinking, too sensitive, too intense, too much. Anything to discredit the gift they couldn't possess and couldn't destroy. And you absorbed it, didn't you? You started questioning yourself. Maybe I am imagining it. Maybe I am too emotional. Maybe I should ignore this feeling and trust what they're saying instead. So you silenced yourself. You dimmed your knowing. You apologized for your accuracy. You second-guessed the one thing that had never, not once, led you wrong. Your inner vision. And the moment you did that, the moment you traded your sight for their approval, you became easier to hurt, because now you were fighting with one eye closed. Now you were navigating in the dark. Now you were vulnerable in ways you had never been before. And oh, they took advantage, didn't they? They moved in closer. They tested your boundaries. They lied to your face while you ignored the alarms ringing in your soul. And you let them. Not because you were weak, but because you were taught that your knowing was the problem. That your awareness was the illness. That your sight was the curse. But it was never a curse. It was a filter, and you just threw it away. Here's where it gets diabolical. The reason they wanted you to stop knowing, to stop trusting your sight, to stop calling out what you felt, wasn't because you were wrong. It was because you were right. Constantly, uncomfortably, undeniably right. And people who live in illusions, people who build their entire identity on masks and performances and carefully crafted lies, they can't survive around someone who sees through all of it. You were the mirror they couldn't look into, the test they couldn't pass, the truth they couldn't silence. So instead of changing, instead of becoming authentic, instead of rising to meet your frequency, they chose the easier route. Destroy your credibility, make you doubt yourself, convince you that your greatest strength was actually your greatest flaw. And it worked for a while. You stopped speaking up. You stopped warning people. You stopped protecting yourself with the very instinct that was designed to keep you safe. But here's the thing about people like you, about forbidden ones. Your knowing doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It doesn't fade just because you suppress it. It just builds and builds and builds until one day it detonates. And that day, that beautiful, catastrophic day, you stopped asking for permission to know what you know. You stopped needing their validation to trust your sight. You stopped apologizing for seeing patterns they were too blind or too comfortable to acknowledge. You remembered something they tried to make you forget. You are not like them. You were never supposed to be. Your operating system is different. Your lens is sharper. Your frequency is higher. And no amount of gaslighting, no amount of social conditioning, no amount of fear-based control was ever going to change that fundamental fact. You are wired to see what others miss, to feel what others ignore, to know what others deny. And the moment you stopped treating that like a burden and started wielding it like a weapon, everything shifted. You stopped walking into traps. You stopped giving chances to people who had already shown you exactly who they were. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you, because you finally understood the assignment. You weren't put here to fit in. You were put here to see through. Let's talk about the science they won't admit. Quantum physics has flirted with this for decades. The observer effect. The idea that consciousness doesn't just witness reality, it influences it. That awareness itself alters outcomes. That the act of observing changes what is being observed. They'll talk about particles and waves and probabilities collapsing, but they'll never take it to the logical conclusion that some people like you, don't just observe reality. You read it, you decode it, you sense the variables before they manifest. You feel the interference patterns in human behavior. You detect the frequency shifts in energy fields that science refuses to name. And because they can't measure it with their tools, because it doesn't fit inside their models, they dismiss it. They call it coincidence. They call it intuition. They call it lucky guesses. But you and I both know it's none of those things. It's perception operating at a level most people will never access because they're too busy defending their ignorance to explore their potential. The ancient texts didn't have microscopes or equations, but they had something better. Observation across centuries, pattern recognition across generations. And what they observed, what they documented in symbols and stories and warnings, was this. There are people who walk among the masses but do not belong to them. People who carry sight that pierces veils. People who know without learning, who feel without touching, who see without looking. And these people, these forbidden ones, they were both revered and feared. Revered because they could warn of danger, reveal hidden truths, protect the tribe from unseen threats. Feared because they couldn't be fooled, couldn't be controlled, couldn't be bent into submission through deception. And here's the kicker. The text didn't call you forbidden because you were evil. They called you forbidden because you were untouchable. Because the usual methods of control, the usual tools of manipulation, the usual games of power, they didn't work on you. You couldn't be bribed with comfort because you valued truth more. You couldn't be threatened with isolation because you'd rather be alone than surrounded by lies. You couldn't be seduced by false belonging because you knew the difference between real connection and strategic alliance. You were, and still are, immune to the matrix. And that makes you the most dangerous kind of free. Now, let's address the room. The elephant everyone pretends isn't there. They've been calling you crazy for years, overthinking, paranoid, seeing things that aren't there, making mountains out of molehills. But let me ask you something. How many times did your paranoia turn out to be preparation? How many times did your overthinking save you from disaster? How many times did the thing you were afraid of, the thing they mocked you for sensing, actually happen? Not some of the time, not occasionally, almost always. And still, they gaslight you. Still, they minimize your accuracy. Because admitting you were right means admitting they were blind. And blindness feels safer than sight when sight demands accountability. When sight requires them to face what they've been avoiding. When sight means they can no longer pretend ignorance as an excuse. So they keep you small, they keep you doubting, they keep you second-guessing. Because the moment you fully trust your knowing, the moment you stop filtering your sight through their comfort, the moment you speak your truth without apology, you become uncontrollable. And uncontrollable people don't fit into their systems. Here's what they don't want you to realize. Your knowing isn't random. It's not a party trick. It's not a glitch. It's an inheritance. Passed down through bloodlines they tried to erase. Encoded in DNA they tried to suppress. Activated in moments of crisis they tried to prevent. You are the descendant of the ones who survived because they saw danger coming. The ones who thrived because they read people like maps. The ones who led because they knew which path would crumble before anyone took a step. That gift, that sight, that forbidden knowing, it didn't start with you, it was given to you. Earned by ancestors who paid in blood and silence and exile to keep it alive. And now it lives in you, pulsing, waiting, ready to be trusted again. But here's the deal. It only works when you stop apologizing for it. It only sharpens when you stop doubting it. It only protects you when you stop ignoring it. Because the moment you silence your knowing to make others comfortable, you betray every single person who fought to pass it down to you. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a world where everyone you meet is playing chess, but you're the only one who can see the whole board. They're focused on the next move, maybe 2 moves ahead if they're strategic. But you see the entire game. You see the trap being set 5 moves out. You see the sacrifice they're about to make that'll cost them everything. You see the victory they think is coming that's actually a cleverly disguised checkmate against them. And when you try to warn them, when you point out the pattern, when you show them what's coming, they look at you like you're speaking another language, because to them, you are. They can't see what you see. They can't process at the speed you process. They can't connect dots that are still forming, so they dismiss you. And then, inevitably, exactly what you said would happen, happens. The relationship falls apart, the business collapses, the betrayal surfaces, the disaster strikes. And in that moment, they don't thank you. They resent you, because your accuracy is a mirror, reflecting their refusal to listen. And nobody likes being wrong, especially when the proof is standing right in front of them saying, "I told you so," without ever opening their mouth. You've been living in that world your entire life, surrounded by people who move slower, see less, feel nothing. And instead of celebrating your advantage, instead of sharpening your edge, you've been trying to dull yourself down to their level. You've been pretending you don't see the betrayal forming, pretending you don't feel the energy shift, pretending you don't know the ending before the second act even starts. Why? Because you wanted to belong, because you wanted to be normal, because you wanted them to stop looking at you like you're strange. But here's the truth they'll never tell you. Normal is another word for blind. Fitting in is another word for compromised. Being like them means trading your sight for their approval, and that trade, that terrible trade, will cost you everything. Your safety, your peace, your power. Because the moment you stop trusting what you know, the moment you override your instincts to match their ignorance, you become prey. And you were never meant to be prey. You were meant to be the one who sees the predator coming. Now here's where it gets cosmic. Ancient texts from completely different cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, all describe the same thing. People who know, people who see, people who carry sight that others fear. The Egyptians called them the enlightened walkers. The Celts called them the veil crossers. Eastern traditions called them the awakened seers. Different names. Same essence. People who operate on a frequency most humans will never access. And across all these traditions, across all these texts, there's one consistent theme. These people were marked. Not with symbols, not with titles, but with isolation. They were respected from a distance, consulted in crisis, but never fully trusted, never fully integrated. Because people who can't be deceived are a threat to systems built on deception. People who see through lies are dangerous to cultures that respect comfort over truth. So they were kept at arm's length, honored in theory, feared in practice. And if that sounds familiar, if that sounds like your entire social experience, congratulations. You're not broken. You're not dysfunctional. You're just operating in a world that wasn't designed for people like you. A world that needs you, but refuses to admit it. They need you when the crisis hits, when the danger is visible, when the threat is undeniable. Suddenly, your paranoia becomes wisdom. Your overthinking becomes strategic foresight. Your sensitivity becomes emotional intelligence. They come running, asking what you think, asking what you feel, asking what you see, and you help them, because that's what you do. You guide, you warn, you protect, even people who've mocked you, even people who've dismissed you, even people who've made you feel crazy for seeing what they refuse to acknowledge. You still help, not because you're weak, but because you understand something they don't. Your sight isn't for you alone. It's for those willing to listen. And the moment the crisis passes, the moment the danger fades, they go right back to treating you like you're too much, too intense, too strange, and the cycle continues until you break it. Until you stop offering your sight to people who only value it in emergencies. Until you start protecting your knowing like the sacred inheritance it is. Because not everyone deserves access to what you see. Not everyone has earned the right to your truth. And the moment you start being selective, the moment you stop casting pearls before swine, your life transforms. Let's get into the mechanics. How does this work? How do you know things you're not supposed to know? Science will give you half answers. Pattern recognition, subconscious processing, micro-expressions, environmental cues. And sure, that's part of it. Your brain is processing information at speeds and depths most people can't